Oh, Braun, friend of the channel, LeBron James, friend of the channel. So Stephen A. Smith believes that LeBron owes a considerable part of his legacy to Dwayne Wade. We love Dwayne Wade. We talked about Dwayne Wade on the channel last week when we brought up Steph Curry as one of the greatest point guards of all time. So Stephen A. Smith, also a friend of the channel,
Mhm.
uh, recently discussed how he felt about the fact that LeBron James was not present for Dwayne Wade's Hall of Fame, enshrining.
Mm.
And so during an episode during one of the episodes of his show recently, Stephen A. talked about how we think about LeBron as a top whatever player ever, but hey man, if it wasn't for Wade, where would LeBron be? So this is an interesting LeBron topic. LeBron is a hot button issue as always. So we'll go ahead and talk about this real quick. It says Stephen A. Smith says LeBron James' legacy would be nothing without Dwayne Wade. Another day, another hot take from Stephen A. Smith. Amid a week where Smith may have straight up broken the law, he took some time to drop a different basketball hot take. A lot has been made about LeBron's absence from Dwayne Wade's recent Hall of Fame enshrinement. Of course, the most likely reason for this is that James is continuing to care for his son, Bronny. Bronny is recovering from a cardiac arrest last month. However, myriad theories surrounding disrespect and beef have also emerged. It appears that Smith is one of those believers, as he tackled the issue head on during a recent episode of The Stephen A. Smith Show. Quote, LeBron James, one could easily argue, wouldn't even know what it's like to be a champion had it not been for Dwayne Wade, Smith said. Somebody needs to say it, so I'm going to say it. Smith's argument is based on the notion that LeBron didn't win his first championship until he linked with Wade in Miami. Of course, LeBron has won two other titles. He earned one with the Cavs in 2016 and another with the Lakers in 2020. However, Smith later clarified that LeBron remains his number two all-time NBA player behind MJ. Yeah, whatever.
Ah,
Um, so yeah, Stephen A. Smith, went hot takey on a show, saying that LeBron's legacy wouldn't be nearly what it was if it weren't for Dwayne Wade. LeBron is often thought of as a lot of people think that he is the greatest player of all time. I think that that's ludicrous. But a lot of people think that he is even the second or third greatest player of all time, which I also believe is ludicrous. And Stephen A. Smith, as you saw in those comments, believes LeBron is the second greatest player ever. Again, ludicrous. But that his legacy would be nothing without Dwayne Wade. So, do you agree with Stephen A. Smith that LeBron James's legacy as we know it is a bit suspect were it not for the influence of Flash, Dwayne Wade, the greatest Miami Heat player of all time?
um, yeah, I mean, he's got a point. He's got a point there, but LeBron's still good. So he could have joined anybody, that off season. Not anybody, but there could have been a few teams that he could have joined along with another superstar like Bosch to win a championship. He could have done that outside of Wade. But he went to Miami and did it with Wade. So people are going to say that. But you could have said that anywhere he went, honestly. So, because this was going to be a talking point as soon as he left Cleveland and joined someone else. So he was going to win with someone else. So he picked Wade and Bosch and Ray Allen, right? So yeah, bro, we had a stick. You wasn't going to beat that.
No.
On talent alone, on paper, we should have won all four. So the mere fact that we only won two speaks to him. Yeah, I said this. So yeah, bro, we should have won all four, hands down. That should have been like KD to Golden State. It was unfair. It was unfair. So we should have won every time, but we didn't, and I think that speaks to LeBron. But I think Stephen A. Just giving a hot take, giving a talking point. But I honestly think that we would have been having this talking point regardless with anybody he joined, because he just didn't do it in Cleveland. And one more thing. As far as he had mentioned something else. As far as what's that? Not D Wade. I can't remember right now. But what do you feel? How do you feel about this, man? Do you agree with Stephen A. Smith here? That well, LeBron is nothing without D Wade.
Yeah, I think whatever team LeBron would have went to, you could have just, just swap it out. So let's say LeBron instead, let's say if they had figured out a way for LeBron to go to the Pacers and the Pacers keep Paul George. And at the time they were, they had Paul George, they had Roy Hibbert, who wasn't a great player, but a really good center back when center still
He was
mattered.
effective.
Yeah. They had all of those guys out there. Jermaine O'Neal was there, still doing his thing. So let's just say that they would have figured out how to keep that core, but just add LeBron. The Pacers would have won. And I don't think anyone would have said that Paul George taught LeBron how to be a champion. The only reason why this rhetoric was even started was because Wade had already won one and they were friends. So it was a natural progression. Okay, well then let's create the narrative that Wade taught LeBron how to win. I don't think that they sat down at Starbucks one day and
Right.
Dwayne Wade was like, "Hey LeBron, let me teach you how to win a championship."
Right.
They just had a really good roster and they won because they had the best roster and it was the best constructed and they were coached well and LeBron's really good and so they won. Like, I don't think it was, maybe he learned how to win via osmosis, but again, what is that really worth when I do believe that if he had gone to any other team that had a good roster in which they were able to keep the core, the result kind of would have been the same. He just chose the Heat because his friend was there and they were able to get Bosch there too. And then the infrastructure of the Heat organization, that is a thing. But at the end of the day, a well-balanced roster with 3 superstars is going to win, even if the organization doesn't run as smoothly as the Heat organization does.
Right.
So I hate the fact that it seems as though I'm being pro LeBron in this instance, because I do think that his career, as quietly as it's kept, I think that his championship success is riddled with nuance that people don't bring up enough because people just want to bring up he won this and he did all this. But be that as it may, yeah, I think Stephen A. Smith just likes to do this weird thing where he double talks with LeBron. Like, it's weird. Stephen A. does this on First Take a lot, where a LeBron topic comes up and he takes the con LeBron side, but then he'll still clean himself up at the end by saying, I still have LeBron number 2 all time. It's like, okay, well, you just shuttered everything that you just talked about because at the end of the day, you still believe he's the second greatest player of all. Like, what do you I really don't know what Stephen A. Smith thinks about LeBron. I really don't, because he'll be the first one to take the anti-LeBron argument in most debates that they bring up on any of those shows that he's on, poking holes in his resume, bringing up said nuance oftentimes. When Draymond Green got suspended in the 2016 finals, he calls it an NBA stimulus package. He basically insinuates that the victory is suspect because Draymond got suspended. So it's like, okay, he brings up stuff like this, but then he'll still turn around and, oh, LeBron is the second greatest player ever. So when it comes to LeBron, I feel like Stephen A. Smith kind of double talks himself. But in this instance, I think that this whole teaching LeBron how to win thing is overstated slightly. I think if you put LeBron on any team where they kept the core intact, the results would have largely been the same. Maybe they would have been better because maybe Paul George in his physical prime instead of Dwayne Wade would have been better at that time during the times where they lost those because maybe Paul George would have had the capability to step up in ways that Dwayne Wade couldn't when they lost to the Mavericks in 2011 and all that other stuff. I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just speaking in hypotheticals here. Just trying to make the claim that I think that whole narrative around what the Heat did in terms of teaching LeBron how to do this or that is a bit overstated. So if you want to by default say that his legacy wouldn't be what it is. If it weren't for Dwayne Wade, you could do that because he played on the Heat with Dwayne Wade. So by default, you can make that claim.
Right.
But I would say that it was weak, lazy logic because that would have been the situation no matter what team he went to.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as the because I remember what I was gonna say, but for him to say that he has him as the second greatest player of all time, but he's nothing without another man.
That's
What's
that
this?
he double talks. He double talks, but I don't get Stephen A. with LeBron. He double talks him.
He wouldn't because if he has if he has Jordan as number one, which I know he does, then one would argue that Jordan was nothing without Pippen. But Stephen A. will go, nope, Jordan's a winner regardless. So there's so many other basketball players. So for you to have him as number two and he was like a sidekick, basically, that don't make no damn sense. So yeah, that logic don't make no sense. But he double talks because, well, that's what swindlers do. So he's a shit sandwich guy. So he'll drag you through the mud, give you a compliment, and then drag your name through the mud one more time. And that's just how he rolls. And because that's how he plays, I'm neutral, or I'm not trying to tear you down. I really see your greatness. BS. Yeah. So yeah, him double talking, yeah, that's all part of his shtick, man. He knows how to work the mental algorithms in his listeners.
Yeah.
The next thing I was gonna say was that to say that Wade taught LeBron how to win is absolutely ridiculous. Well, who taught Wade how to win? Well, those people were still running the organization when LeBron got there. So the Heat culture, I believe in it. I really think it's a real thing. They run their organization one of the best, top down. All right, it's top 5 best run organization in the NBA, and it's been that way for at least the last decade or so. All right, even more. So he got himself into a really good situation where they taught him how to be a pro. And so, hey man, all of these things matter. I already know you take care of your body, but we on it like this over here. And so there was so much stuff that he learned from an organization that is trying to win championships year after year. So he learned that from the Heat organization. Even then, when he was there, he was still trying to turn it out and fire Spoelstra and get his own rosters and do all this GM like he does everywhere he goes. But Pat Riley, part of the mafia is not having that. So that was where the dissonance was. That's why he jumped ship. But Pat Riley said it himself. He was upset that he left because this was literally a dynasty. He was like, we would have been winning for 10 years. We would have had so many rings. And he blew that by him being him, basically. Because from him jumping ship, he started losing more championships and, just winning at a 50% clip instead of having an organization behind you that will put the right pieces in place every year for you. It just didn't make any sense, but he had to do him and he had to do his own thing. So, ain't no shade, it's just who he is. But to say that he learned that from Wade, nah, I can't say that either. And again, that is a lazy talking point and, just inflaming, Wade even more. But, and I'm a big Wade fan.
Yeah,
but,
me too.
But the whole conspiracy surrounding Wade and LeBron, I mean, these are two grown ass men. Who knows what they have going on? It was kind of, weird that he didn't show up to his Hall of Fame thing. It wasn't like that wasn't going to create waves, but people want to get on LeBron for taking Bronny to see Drake. That's like, hey, first of all, his son just had a heart attack. And his son wants to go see Drake. I'm taking my son that just got out of the hospital to go see Drake. So I don't know what that was all about. So let him do. Who cares? So if they do have some type of internal strife, beef, or whatever, who knows? Let that blow over. But this is not going to stop. People are going to keep making rumors about him never showing up. This will always be a thing. And there's people birthday parties. My bad. You know what I'm saying, JV? I don't. I missed it. But you like, all right, bro. But if you were getting inducted to the Hall of Fame, I would be there. So I don't know what LeBron. I don't know what LeBron doing. But anyway,
Yeah,
man, too much.
yeah,
Too much. People need to make some type of conspiracy about something with him, but I'm not buying
yeah. Me neither. I actually gave LeBron a pass for that because
it.
I
Me too.
assumed that his son had something to do with his absence. Like,
That's what I was saying.
his son went into cardiac arrest. It is what it is. Like, whether you think he should have made a way to be there or not, that was a major life event that took place. I kind of gave LeBron a pass for that.
Yep.
LeBron is an interesting guy. Yeah, I think that there's a tendency. See, I'm all the way 100 with it.
Mhm.
I acknowledge his contribution to the game and I acknowledge his career overall, but I also I bring up the nuance in his career
Mhm.
in order to poke holes in the notion that he is what others think, which is either the first or second greatest player of all time. It's only within that context that I do that. I call it the inner sanctum phenomenon. There's the room where you have the greatest players ever, but then there is a very small, tiny room within the room where you got like two or three people. And if you think LeBron is in that room within the room, then that room within the room is the place where you get to pick nits and make arguments that you might think are nitpicky and small, but there's only but so much to point at when you're dealing with that small of a difference between the greatest of the greatest of the greatest ever. And so if you think that LeBron is the greatest player of all time or number two or number three, I'm going to poke those holes. I'm going to pick those nits because at that point, he upholds the standard of being in the inner sanctum. It's as simple as that. And when it comes to Stephen A, I just think that Stephen A. Smith at this point, you call him a swindler. I just think that he is a king dingling. I think that he is a king dingling media gas bag.
Damn.
And I think that he, without conscious, to use one of his words, bloviates
Mhm.
and just puts hot takes into the ether to get a reaction and a rise out of people. I'm
Yeah.
serious when I say I truly don't know what LeBron's true feeling on the on. I'm sorry, I truly don't know what Stephen A. Smith's true feelings on LeBron is. I suspect this, and I don't know Stephen A. Smith obviously, and Stephen A. will never cop to this publicly, but I personally suspect Stephen A. Smith does not actually believe LeBron is the second greatest player
No,
ever.
he does not.
In his heart of hearts, I don't think Stephen A. believes that. But I think that the LeBron media machine has bullied Stephen A. Smith into a corner as the king of the media mountaintop in such a way that he has to parrot such a belief. Yeah, LeBron is number two all time. I don't really think he thinks that. I don't. But I don't think that he at this point can say it without being perceived as somebody who loses all credibility. And Stephen A. Smith at this point in the game can't afford to lose credibility. So he has to say these things because when it comes to being in the mainstream media, you gotta be like LeBron is at the worst. You have to have LeBron as like the third greatest player ever at worst, or else you have no credibility. And in this content game, in order for people to listen to you, click on your videos, in order for your ratings to stick and all of this good stuff, you have to be perceived as someone who has some credibility in some capacity. As weird as it may seem, Cameron has entertainment credibility when it comes to the podcast game. Who was the other guy?
Nori.
Nori has
Mhm.
entertainment credibility when it comes to the hip hop podcast game. When it comes to the sports media podcast game, Stephen A. Smith has gas bag
Right.
entertainer,
Right.
credibility. And
Right.
so you can't lose that by saying an outlandish thing like LeBron is not top five. You gotta say that. But I think if you set Stephen A. Smith down and gave him a nice drink and had an honest conversation with him, I got a feeling Stephen A. Smith has a handful of guys he thinks are better than LeBron.
Oh yeah.
But that's how the media game goes. Because if LeBron says that publicly, now you got to deal with LeBron's team who's mad at you, LeBron who's mad at you, other NBA players who ride for LeBron who are mad at you, other, acolytes in the media, Nick Wright, Shannon Sharp, who are going to be mad at you because they love LeBron so much. So you got to play the game. And I think that LeBron is just expertly playing the game. I mean,
Yeah.
I keep saying LeBron. I think Stephen
Stephen
A.
A.
Smith is expertly playing the game.
Yeah, and I think that, and you're right. He just plays the media game, and he knows that hot takes is what sells. It's like punchlines and rap. You know, everybody wants a punchline. Everybody want bars, right? So he just gives us hot take after hot take after hot take. But he's always flip flopping because, well, you can't be authentic and always giving hot takes.
Yeah.
So a lot of these hot takes are full of sharp. And so, of course, that's why his rankings always flip flop. So I remember when before not Kyrie, before Kawhi really was sitting out in LA, you know, before he was going to LA, he's the best player in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's
Yeah.
arguably number 2 next to LeBron James. Like, why are we doing this for Kawhi? Now
Yeah.
he's a baller. He's hooping right now, and he did do that with the Raptors. But let's be honest. Come on now, he's not the second best player in the NBA. But that's what they were saying. And, you know, and it's always KD up here, but it's always flip flopping. Now it's Steph Curry, and, you know, somebody hit 50 points, you know, over the weekend. Oh, now Dame Lillard's the third best player in the NBA. I don't want to hear this. So no, he's not authentic. He's not genuine. And that's why you said, you know, sit him down and have a drink and have an honest conversation. I think that is an oxymoron. I don't think honest conversation fits for Stephen A. Smith. But
So Stephen A. Smith is going to give me media Stephen A. even in private.
he's going to gas bag you there. He's just going to give you his serious voice. You know, the one he does when he's so he seems sincere. That's full of shit too. I'm tired of him, but he plays a good character. He plays a good character, and he never breaks. So you gotta admire that if there's something to admire about this guy. But no, he's full of shart, and he's gonna give you full shart at that table because guess what you're gonna do? Hey man, I was just talking to Stephen A. Smith, and he said X, Y, Z. So he needs you to go out there and say LeBron's the best, the second best player, Steph Curry. And he wants you to go parrot that garbage, the same stuff that's on ESPN every morning. So I really don't think that Stephen A. Smith, I really don't think he has an off button. So that's what makes him so great at this. So because he doesn't have an off button. So yeah, I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that too. I've never bought that he truly thinks that LeBron is number 2 all time. I know he says it publicly, but I kind of don't buy. I don't think that he actually truly believes that. But I guess we'll never know. He does play the media game to proficient fashion, and that is why he does sit number 1. Soon to be, you know, Stephen A. Smith with Shannon Sharp. Ironically, they got Shannon Sharp over there to that clown fiesta of a show. So, shouts out to Stephen A. Smith for the content. Don't know if Wade taught LeBron how to win, or if LeBron owes Wade some of his legacy, but that's just more gas bag mumbo jumbo stuff. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.